So here's a question that every leader of a small or mid-market business really needs to ask themselves, and that is, if my business were to disappear tomorrow, would anyone even notice? Or would they just move on to the next guy down the street, next person on Google, and it would have no significant impact on anyone's life around us? Most businesses have built themselves, if you have any kind of success, you have any kind of longevity, it's because you've built yourself to deliver, but not to differentiate yourself from your competition. And in today's video, I want to walk you through how to think about differentiating yourself so that you're not just one of many of what you offer, but you're the one that your customers want. You're the one that they'll go to. And once you've achieved that, your ability to scale, your ability to grow, your ability to exit on your terms, all kinds of options just are all of a sudden presented to you. So here's the thing. If you're the same as everyone else, then you have a growth ceiling in place. And what tends to happen most of the time is people begin to compete on price. If they don't have any kind of differentiator, if there's no distinction, then price becomes that. It becomes proxy for being different. And what happens when you compete on price, as anyone who's ever been involved in that, is you have a race to the bottom. Someone undercuts your price by a little bit, you undercut by a little bit more, and you keep doing that until you can no longer really perform that well. You're no longer making a profit that justifies the risk or the investment that you're putting into it. You no longer have the resources that you need to be able to grow. And you end up in a really kind of a stagnant place. It's not a great place to be. And it's not a necessary place to be either. And so I want to talk a little bit about how to think through this. And so if you're in the market, you really offer three major things. And again, I'm not talking about price up here because I really, in most cases, don't believe in trying to compete on price. I believe in trying to compete on differentiation. And we have these three major areas. One is what you offer. This is your product or the service that you offer. The second is your delivery experience. What is it like to receive the product or service from you? This could have everything to do with the speed of it, the convenience of it, the friendliness of it, the confidence that they have that if there's a problem, you'll fix it. Any of those kinds of things is in this bucket. The last one has to do with the strength of your brand and or your uniqueness. What there is about you that's so different that it causes people to respect you and to want you or to work with you or your products or your services more than with someone else. And there's three different categories of places that you can be. There's actually four. But the three are in the game. You're just showing up and you're able to play. You're not the best. You're maybe not even competitive with everyone else, but you're in the game. Then there's competitive. You can kind of hang in there with everyone else. And then there's being a market leader. Now, the fourth option is you don't even make it onto the chart. You're not even in the game in a certain area. Maybe you've got competitive products and services. Maybe your brand delivery experience is in the game. You're doing it, but you're not really putting thought around it. And maybe not your brand, but your delivery experience is in the game. And maybe your uniqueness or your brand's not even there. There's just nothing going on. So the challenge for you, and this is what I encourage you to do with your team, is to sit down and think through, okay, how do we move up in any one of these areas? And this starts to begin to, it's a strategic question to ask yourself that begins to position you for success in a way that's different. And the likelihood of your competitors even thinking this way is pretty low. And so if you do think about it and you start to develop a strategy around this, it'll bear a lot of fruit for you in terms of your ability to gain traction and move ahead in your market. So, for example, let's say you're, like a lot of my clients, maybe you're involved in construction. Let's say you're a heavy civil construction company. And you've got a competitive product or service. You're beyond being in the game. You don't just have some equipment, some people that can deliver. You're actually in there. You can hang with anyone else. Not the best out there, but you're good. Maybe your delivery experience is competitive as well. Basically meaning the client gets from you what they would get from anyone else. They have the same sort of quality engagement with your PMs. They have the same kind of experience when they talk to your estimators and all of that. It's all around the same kind of experience. Maybe your uniqueness or your brand, you're in the game, people kind of know who you are, but there's nothing that really stands out about you. So the question I would do is I would sit down with my team and try to figure out which one of these will make, if we move it up, will make the biggest impact on our ability to secure bids and our ability to get work. And maybe it has to do with improving something about your product or service. And maybe you want to move up to a market leader spot in some way. This is something I recommend to some of my clients that are in specific industries, is develop something unique. I had a client that had a patent around a unique, this was an engineering firm, they had a patent around a unique product that they could use when it came to working with maritime construction, so specifically around building ports and so on. And they had a unique product, and because of that, they were a market leader in that space. I have another client that's construction adjacent, and they build something that many buildings need. And because they're unique in that space, they have built clear leadership in that space, and it allows them to outperform others. Maybe you feel like, well, these are both as good as we think we can get or want to get right now. Maybe you want to improve this in some way. We want to become more known. And so we're going to start participating in professional events. We're going to start engaging in the community. We're going to start taking people out to lunches. We're going to start wining and dining a little bit so that people know who we are. Maybe we're just going to work on our branding and our visibility. You can develop your own strategies based off of the creativity on your team, but you want to think about, how do we move these up? One of the first things you should do is, if you didn't have this on the chart at all, then probably the very first thing you do is make sure you're in the game in all three areas. Because if you're not, you're going to suck yourself down. But then once you're here, try to figure out, should we move one of these up, or should we try to get them all equal? That all depends on your best guess and your best sense of your market and your best sense of what's going on around you. Ideally, everything's going to be over here. Realistically, that won't always happen. Ideally, you want to have everything up to competitive. That should be realistic, that you're competitive in all areas, and then you can begin to push to be a market leader in one. Once you've done this, you'll find that you just start to own your market, or at least a significant portion of it. Your customers and your clients know who you are, and they would absolutely notice if you weren't there. Let's give another example. Let's do a medical example. Quite a few of my clients are in that space as well. Let's say you're in a clinic that offers a very unique, advanced kind of medical service or procedures that aren't widely available. And so you're a market leader in that space. Maybe there's not a whole lot of people in your community that offer the procedures or the technology that you offer. But let's say your delivery experience is, let's say it's awful. People call your office and they don't get a phone call back. They talk to your front desk and the person's rude. It's really hard to schedule. You're not even really truly in the game in this space. And maybe your brand or your uniqueness is really just kind of in the game. People kind of know that you're there, but you're kind of also a secret. Like, you're on Google, people can look you up, you've got a website, some of your colleagues know who you are, but they don't really know when to refer to you or if they would want to. Because what you offer is unique, maybe a lot of people feel kind of cautious around you, or they're not sure if you're, is this legitimate, or is this kind of snake oil type stuff? Like, really, what do you got going on? So if you're in this kind of space here where you offer something that's very unique, some basic places to start is, I would make sure here that we get you even on the chart with your delivery, at least in the game. Pick up the phone, return phone calls, schedule appointments with people. Make sure that process is at least at a minimum level of okayness, so that it's not just obviously disruptive when people call you. Ideally, try to move up to being competitive in this space. And then I would work on right here, because you have this uniqueness up here, it shouldn't be a hard pull to move this up. But oftentimes, people that are very, very good at something or have something really unique or special, they believe that everyone somehow just knows it, and they don't. And so you got to tell them. And so you want to do is figure out, what's our strategy for letting people know. And you realize, okay, for our business, for our medical practice, most people will probably come to us as referrals from other kinds of providers who recognize their patients need what they have. We're not going to become their medical home. The other provider will stay that way, but we'll build this relationship with them. They're going to want to send their patients to us for this certain set of procedures that we offer that you can't get elsewhere. And then you begin to move up to competitive or maybe even market leader in that space. And once you've done this, once you're out of being in the game, you're competitive and you have market leader in at least one category, even if it's just that one, the chances of you being able to just dominate your space become very, very high. And that's the simple tool I want to give you. And the reason I use construction and medical, partially it's because I have a lot of clients in that space, but also I use those as examples because I have found that leaders in those spaces often believe that you don't have flexibility to do this kind of strategic thinking and positioning, but you actually do. And it's actually not that hard. And actually, the fact is because so few people do it in those industries that if you even try in that space, you begin to stand out positively in a way that can be pretty surprising. So what I would encourage you to do is you sit down with your team and ask yourself these questions. How do we score in each of those areas right now? Are we on the chart? Are we in the game? Are we competitive, or are we a market leader? Be honest about this. And this isn't, we think we're awesome. This is, how do your competitors see you? Because that's the only thing that matters really in this space. Or if they knew about it, if you're a best kept secret, how would they know about you, or how would they view you if they knew about it? The second thing is, what's limiting growth? Which of these is a bottleneck for you? Sometimes you can be just in the game or competitive in an area, and because everyone else around you is sort of in that same space, it doesn't always mean that that's the first place you need to work. And so if what you're offering is just in the game, but you just have outstanding delivery, I mean, people just love working with you, and you're competitive in terms of who you are and how well you're known, maybe you want to move this up, your product or service, or maybe you just make it even that much more special to be with you. There's all kinds of industries that do this. Different spas, clothing industries do this, where they don't really offer anything that's necessarily any better or any different, but they brand it, right? Water is the great example of this. You go to the supermarket and you're going to see all kinds of water for sale, and a lot of it's just water, and a lot of it's just tap water. They'll even euphemistically refer to that on their cans or bottles. But they've branded themselves really effectively. And so people will pay a premium for something that's really kind of just in the game. It's just water. So you want to think about that. It's a very powerful tool, and this can help you, again, separate yourself from being one of many to being the one that people want to have to buy product from or to buy services from. And so the businesses that scale well or position themselves well for sale, or whatever your goals are the ones that stand out, not the ones that just are able to be there. And so if you're tired of being looked over, or just feeling like you're one of a crowd, trying to have your voice heard, trying to get your proposals looked at, trying to get customers to take you seriously, what you want to begin to do is this differentiation process, to start to think about, how do we become different, where people know that we're different than everyone else? If this is helpful to you, feel free to comment, like, and subscribe, and that helps me out quite a bit. And look forward to other videos on growing your business, on building value in your business, and positioning yourself to be really outstanding in your space.